He said the same thing. I don't believe, and he doesn't believe that there are kids, because you don't yank around and use alleged.
Never heard of a baby bump or being so variable, and not to mention swinging from side to side. Oh, let's do the cha-cha, or shall we do chubby checker? Let's twist again like we never twisted.
It just seems that these two can't get anything right, particularly when it comes to
The royal family is in complete meltdown mode, and this time there's no escape from the truth. A mysterious woman calling herself DL has just dropped the most explosive bombshell in royal history, claiming she's the biological mother of Archie and Lilibet. But here's the kicker. Harry just accidentally confirmed everything. The royal family is scrambling tonight, and this time there's nowhere left to hide. A mysterious woman using the alias DL has just stepped forward with the most explosive allegations in royal history, claiming she's not just a surrogate, but the actual biological mother of Archie and Lilibet. This isn't some tabloid rumor or internet conspiracy theory. We're talking about someone who says she has hospital records, NDAs, and financial documentation that could bring down the entire Sussex house of cards.
Also where Meghan and Harry made some major mistakes that only fueled all of these rumors and issues surrounding their handling of the children, the privacy, all of it. They created a really big mess of Archie's birth, quite frankly.
What makes DL's claims absolutely terrifying for Harry and Meghan is the level of detail she's providing. She's not making vague accusations or speaking in riddles. This alleged woman is talking about specific dates, medical procedures, and legal agreements that only someone with intimate knowledge of the situation would possess. The implications are staggering because if her allegations are true, we're looking at the biggest fraud ever perpetrated against the royal family. Think about what this means for the royal family. Archie and Lilibet are currently regarded as direct members, but if they're not Meghan's biological children, their entire claim to royal heritage crumbles instantly. DL allegedly claims she has signed non-disclosure agreements that have kept her silent for years, but something has clearly changed. Sources suggest she's grown increasingly frustrated watching Harry and Meghan parade around as the perfect royal family while she remains hidden in the shadows. The woman who allegedly carried and gave birth to these children has been erased from their story completely.
They played games, and you know what they did? They won stupid prizes. More controversies, more conspiracies, really it's theories, more theories thrown their way, and more fuel and evidence to the theories of surrogacy.
But here's where it gets even more explosive. DL isn't just claiming she was a surrogate who carried Meghan's eggs. She's alleging that these children are biologically hers, created with her own genetic material. If that's true, then Harry and Meghan have been living a lie that goes far deeper than anyone imagined. According to sources, the palace has reportedly been in emergency meetings since these allegations surfaced, desperately trying to figure out how to contain what could be the most damaging scandal in modern royal history. The timing of DL's decision to speak out is particularly significant. With growing questions about the children's origin and mounting pressure from multiple sources, it seems like the perfect facade is finally breaking. The woman who allegedly holds the key to this entire mystery has decided that silence is no longer an option. Prince Harry might have just accidentally confirmed everything we've been suspecting about the surrogate situation, and he doesn't even realize the bombshell he's dropped. In his memoir Spare, Harry made what seemed like an innocent comment about being home within 2 hours of Archie's birth, but medical experts are now saying this timeline is virtually impossible if Meghan had actually given birth naturally. Any woman who has given birth will tell you that recovery doesn't happen in 2 hours. We're talking about a major physical trauma that requires extended hospital observation, especially for first-time mothers. The fact that Harry casually mentioned being home so quickly suggests he either has no understanding of childbirth or he's accidentally revealed that the birth didn't happen the way they've claimed. Another piece of evidence are the events that occurred on the birth date of Prince Archie. In a real dramatic fashion, they did not tell the public right after Meghan went into labor. What Meghan and Harry did instead was keep Archie's birth private for over 8 hours. They did not tell people that he was actually born and arrived until 8 hours later. They also issued a confusing press release suggesting Meghan had just gone into labor after Archie had already been born. So they were playing games here with this. And the result was that the media and the public felt misled because they were misled.
Why would you do that? Why are you lying to people? Why are you trying to mislead people? And naturally, this is only going to end up being fuel for surrogacy rumors. Because why else are you being sort of suspicious and secretive around labor and birth unless you're trying to shuffle out a surrogate?
But Harry's timeline problems don't stop there. His own account of the birth is filled with inconsistencies that become more glaring the closer you examine them. He describes rushing to the hospital, but then mentions being home almost immediately afterward. Where's the extended labor? Where are the hours of recovery? Where's the natural bonding time that new parents typically spend in the hospital? Medical professionals who have analyzed Harry's statements are raising serious red flags about the plausibility of his version of events. One obstetrician pointed out that even with the most straightforward delivery, new mothers typically remain under medical supervision for at least 24 hours. The idea that Meghan was ready to leave the hospital within hours of giving birth is medically questionable at best.
Posed a whole load of questions to Buckingham Palace about the birth of Archie, because I've never believed that the circumstances around the birth of Archie were...
What's even more suspicious is how Harry registered Archie's birth and then had to make multiple amendments to the birth certificate. He was the one providing all the information to the registrar, which raises questions about why there were so many errors that needed correcting. When you're registering your own child's birth, you don't typically need to make multiple corrections unless something fundamental about the situation isn't straightforward. Harry's own words are becoming the strongest evidence against the official narrative. Every time he tries to provide details about the births, he inadvertently creates more questions than answers. His accidental admissions are painting a picture that doesn't match what the public has been told. The smoking evidence everyone's been waiting for has finally emerged, and it's coming from the most unexpected source. Sources claim that Portland Hospital, the exclusive London medical facility where Archie was supposedly born, has no record of Meghan Markle ever being admitted as a patient. Think about that for a moment. We're talking about one of the most high-profile births in recent royal history, and the hospital has absolutely no documentation of it ever happening. This revelation is absolutely devastating because it completely contradicts the official birth story that Harry and Meghan have been pushing for years. Remember, they initially claimed Archie was going to be born at Frogmore Cottage in a planned home birth. Then suddenly, without any explanation, the story changed to Portland Hospital. But now we're discovering that Portland Hospital has no records of Meghan ever being there, which raises the obvious question. Where exactly was this child born? The 7-hour delay in announcing Archie's birth is starting to make perfect sense when you consider these missing hospital records. The palace claimed there were technical difficulties with their communication systems, but that explanation never made sense. In 2019, if your email system fails, you pick up a phone. The real reason for the delay was likely that they were scrambling to get their story straight and create the necessary documentation to support their narrative. What Dan Wooten uncovered about that South Africa flight is absolutely devastating, and it's coming from someone who was actually there, watching everything unfold in real time. We're talking about a senior British Airways flight attendant who approached Dan directly during one of his own flights, completely unprompted, because she was so disturbed by what she witnessed that she felt compelled to speak out. This wasn't some random crew member looking for attention. This was a seasoned professional who had been working international flights for years and had never seen anything like Meghan's behavior toward her own child. The flight attendant told Dan that during the entire journey to South Africa in September 2019, when Archie was just 4 months old, Meghan refused to touch or look after him even once.
Flight, Meghan refused to touch or look after Archie even once. She didn't look at him. She had zero interest when he was upset. And she expected the staff the entire time to take care of that baby.
Think about that for a moment. We're talking about a transatlantic flight, hours and hours in the air, and a mother who showed absolutely zero interest in her infant son. When Archie became upset or needed attention, Meghan expected the flight staff and nannies to handle everything while she remained completely detached from the situation. But here's what makes this even more chilling. The flight attendant was adamant that there was zero connection between mother and child. This wasn't just a tired mom taking a break. This was something far more disturbing. The complete lack of maternal instinct was so obvious that it left the crew members questioning what they were witnessing.
Me by a British Airways air hostess about the total opposite. About the fact that Ms. Markle is now famous for the atrocious ways that she treats crews on international flights, including, by the way, on American Airlines.
What's particularly revealing about the flight attendant's account is how she described Meghan's behavior, changing dramatically depending on whether Harry was around. When Prince Harry was in the vicinity, Meghan would suddenly become polite and engaging with the crew. But the moment he stepped away or was out of earshot, she transformed into a completely different person. This Jekyll and Hyde behavior is exactly what we've been hearing about from multiple sources over the years. The flight attendant's observations align perfectly with reports from palace staff who described Meghan as manipulative and two-faced. She knew exactly how to perform the role of the caring wife and mother when Harry was watching, but dropped the act entirely when she thought no one important was looking. The implications of this are staggering. If Meghan was putting on a performance for Harry during their own family travel, what does that say about their entire relationship? The flight crew witnessed firsthand how Meghan manipulates situations and people, including her own husband, to maintain her carefully constructed image. Now let's not forget about that cringy video that went viral a few days back. Dan Wooten's investigation exposed what might be the most calculated PR manipulation we've ever seen from Meghan Markle. The viral story about an American Airlines flight attendant receiving a handwritten note from Meghan was revealed to be nothing more than an orchestrated publicity stunt designed to counter the growing narrative about her appalling treatment of airline staff.
I believe who I just had on my flight, who I had a pleasure of serving, the Queen, the Princess, the Duchess of Sussex. She wrote us a little handwritten note back. So we wrote her a note that said, "It's a pleasure of serving you. We love you real bad." And she wrote this note back that says, "Dear AA girlies, thank you for the love, hospitality, and handwritten note. You know me well. All love right back to you." And then I think it says, "Forever, Meg."
Okay.
The timing of this fake story is absolutely telling. It surfaced just as multiple crew members were coming forward with accounts of Meghan's diva behavior, her demands for free upgrades, and her cold treatment of service workers. Suddenly, out of nowhere, we get this perfectly crafted story about Meghan being gracious and thoughtful to airline staff. The coincidence is so obvious it's almost insulting to our intelligence. What makes this manipulation particularly insidious is how Meghan deliberately exploited the very system designed to protect airline workers from retaliation. She knew exactly what she was doing when she orchestrated this fake positive story, understanding that the real victims of her mistreatment couldn't speak out to contradict it. American Airlines crew members are bound by strict confidentiality agreements that prevent them from discussing celebrity passengers, and sharing the contents of a passenger's note would violate every ethical guideline they're trained to follow. This calculated exploitation reveals the depths of Meghan's strategic thinking. She's not just trying to rehabilitate her image, she's actively weaponizing the confidentiality agreements that airline staff are legally bound by to create a false counter-narrative. The crew members who have experienced her diva tantrums firsthand are forced to watch in silence as she paints herself as the gracious celebrity who writes thoughtful notes to hardworking staff. The audacity of using the very people she's mistreated as unwilling props in her PR campaign shows a level of narcissistic manipulation that's truly breathtaking. She's essentially holding their professional obligations hostage to rewrite history in her favor, knowing they can't fight back without risking their careers and facing potential lawsuits. This isn't just damage control. This is psychological warfare against people who have no power to defend themselves against her lies. The most disturbing aspect of Meghan's deception isn't her treatment of airline staff or even the surrogate allegations. It's how she's turned motherhood into nothing more than a carefully choreographed performance designed to manipulate public opinion. Every single public appearance with Archie and Lilibet is so perfectly staged, it's almost insulting to our intelligence.
Desperate to be liked, but doesn't want to change anything about who she is in terms of just being authentic. And I think she has to make these little stunts to make herself seem likable. And it's just
Think about it. She'll show up for a photo opportunity, hold the children for exactly as long as it takes to get the perfect shot, and then immediately hand them back to the nannies. It's like watching someone play dress up with borrowed children. The whole performance is designed to make her look maternal and relatable. But the reality behind the scenes tells a completely different story that we're only now beginning to understand. What's particularly calculated about Meghan's maternal brand is how she uses these children as emotional shields whenever she's facing criticism. Suddenly, she transforms into the protective mother fighting for her family's privacy, when in reality, she's the one constantly putting them in the spotlight for her own benefit. She'll drag them out for a carefully orchestrated paparazzi walk when she needs positive press, then complain about invasion of privacy when the coverage doesn't go her way.
Doesn't even look at their child and, want the staff to constantly feed them. She doesn't want anything to do with her own children. They are props in this whole PR game that she is playing to make her look like a loving mother. She is nothing to be admired. Her true self is nasty. She's a bully.
The flight attendant's account of Meghan completely ignoring Archie for an entire transatlantic flight while expecting the crew to handle everything perfectly aligns with this pattern of using children as props, rather than treating them as human beings who need love and attention. That's the real Meghan, the one who can't be bothered with actual parenting when she thinks no one important is watching. The Loving Mother Act is just another performance in her endless repertoire of manipulation tactics. She's essentially turned motherhood into a brand, using her children as accessories to complete her image as the modern, relatable royal. But when the cameras stop rolling and the photo shoots end, she apparently can't be bothered with the genuine work of parenting that involves actual emotional connection and daily care. This isn't about being a perfect mother. This is about the fundamental deception of presenting yourself as devoted and maternal while showing zero genuine interest in your children's well-being. The contrast between her public performances and private behavior reveals someone who views these children as tools for her image rather than precious human beings deserving of love and attention. The cracks in Harry and Meghan's carefully constructed empire are finally showing, and what's emerging is a picture of desperation that goes far deeper than anyone imagined. The couple has been quietly slashing their staff numbers in what sources are calling a desperate attempt to save money. But the reality behind these cuts reveals a much more disturbing truth about their financial situation and their inability to maintain basic professional relationships.
It was our second date. We know the story. We were there. Yeah. We lived through it. We don't care about the cupcakes, but she's still going to keep posting about it. But this comes as Prince Harry.
What's particularly damning about Harry and Meghan's latest round of layoffs is how they're trying to spin it as a strategic business decision when it's clearly a financial emergency. According to multiple sources, the couple has cut ties with their entire communications team, letting go of key players like Charlie Gibson, their European communications director, and Kyle Boulia, their Los Angeles-based deputy press secretary. But this isn't just about trimming the fat. This is about a couple who can no longer afford to maintain their lavish lifestyle. The numbers are absolutely staggering. Since stepping down from their royal duties in 2020, Harry and Meghan have reportedly lost or let go of up to 25 staff members. One royal source perfectly captured the situation, saying they cycle through staff as quickly as normal people cycle through toilet paper. Milk lasts longer than their employees. This isn't normal business turnover. This is a pattern of dysfunction that suggests serious problems with how they treat people and manage their operations. What makes their financial situation even more precarious is the reality behind their much-touted Netflix deal. While it was initially reported as being worth $100 million, sources now reveal it's actually closer to $20 million. Even worse, that deal is set to expire this year, and Netflix is reportedly shifting toward first-look deals rather than exclusive contracts, which means Harry and Meghan could be looking at significantly less money if they're renewed at all. The streaming giant's lack of enthusiasm for their content is telling. While their documentary series Harry and Meghan performed well, projects like Heart of Invictus and Polo have failed to make any significant impact. Netflix is clearly not seeing the return on investment they expected, which puts the couple in an extremely vulnerable position as they try to negotiate their future with the platform. The couple's annual expenses are crushing them. Between their $2 million security costs, property taxes of $288,000, mortgage payments on their $14.65 million Montecito mansion, and the cost of maintaining their remaining staff, they're hemorrhaging money faster than they can bring it in. Their lifestyle has become unsustainable, and these staff cuts are just the beginning of what promises to be a much more dramatic downsizing of their operations. In these circumstances, if the surrogacy rumors turned out to be true, things will get very bad for both Prince Harry and Meghan. We're not just talking about embarrassing headlines or damaged reputations here. We're looking at a constitutional crisis that could fundamentally alter the British monarchy forever.